Okay, now I'm going to do this on the Excel spreadsheet. That does not mean that you have to learn the Excel spreadsheet. The only reason I'm doing it on the Excel spreadsheet is so it'll be all the same size lettering, and it'll be vertical and horizontal so you can see it. That's the only reason I'm doing it. Well, yeah, and you're not going to avoid using Excel in the real world. Somewhere you're going to use it. If you're dealing with computers, you're going to use it. So I'm not telling you you have to do it, okay?
I made a 98 on my Excel.
Good. So, pull up Excel. In some of these tables, you can actually copy and paste, and it'll paste it into Excel for you. But this one doesn't have that. What the? Everything on. What's wrong with this thing? My stomach is hurting. I don't feel like this. Okay, Shelly, give me the numbers.
9, 9, 10, 11, 13, 13, 13, 14, and 25.
All right, all these numbers, each one of them is called X. Okay? The first X is 9. The second X is 9. So X of 1 is 9. X of 2 is 9. And the reason that's important is because the summation of X is equal to N. Write that down. What does summation look like? Summation looks like that big old E is turned around right there. Well, you can't see it. Hold on. That big E right here. That's called summation.
You said the summation of what?
Summation of X is equal to N. Now that's very important because if you take this class or any other class with probability and statistics, they're going to have that a lot, and they're also going to rely on you to know that, or not rely on it, expect for you to know that in other formulas. So it's one of those things that you pretty much have to know, because N is in a lot of formulas. So down here I'm going to say N is equal to, and we're going to add all those up. So I hit summation and click on that and add all those up. And that is N. N is equal to 117. Now, to find the mean is called several things. The mean is called the mean. It's called, that's not supposed to be there. It's not supposed to be like that. Let's go back down to 10. And check that out. And check that out. It's also called, what else? The average, Hubert. That's right, class. You didn't say that. I didn't hear you. You might have did this. You might have did that. Over there.
I said
Shut up. Okay. I'll start talking like that.
Take your average.
All right. Average. And it's also called X bar. I said X bar. What? Huh? Who's on first? All right. Mean, average, and X bar. Now, of course, X bar is not spelled X bar like that. It's an X with a bar over the top of it. Okay? So, it's aggravating to do it on here, so I just call it X bar. And that's all the average. All three of those are the same thing. If I need to figure the average, it's the summation of X over N. Okay? I'm sorry. That's not N. That's the summation of X. Sorry. Summation of X. Summation of X. and this is n. N is how many are in the group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9? So up here I'm going to put n is equal to 9.
Go get you some Pepto.
Doesn't help. Nothing helps. I've done been to 3 doctors. Usually does it in the morning when I wake up.
Yeah, stomach ulcers.
They have checked, listen, they have checked me. They have done ultrasounds. They have done x-rays. They have done everything. Can't figure out what's wrong. That's what they say. So they give me a bunch of drugs and I don't take them. Yeah. Drugs just deaden the pain. It still
I take
hurts.
drugs every morning, and if I didn't,
And that's what's wrong with you. That explains it. All right. So here we go. Put equals right here.
every morning.
I take drugs every morning. Well, that explains it.
Y'all wouldn't like me if I didn't.
Meow. Okay, summation of x is 117 divided by 9. And there's our mean. 13.
You've just done like a really simple thing, like add them all up, divide by how many are, mean.
That's what I just said, summation of x over n. There's 2 ways to learn it. You can learn it as, mathematical, summation of x over n, or you can learn it layman's terms, add them all up, divide by the number. However you want to learn it. All right? What about the median? Well, let me ask you a question. When you think of median, when you hear the word median, what do you think of?
Middle.
I think of that concrete thing in the road.
Oh, I would.
That's in the middle too.
That's what I'm trying to get to. If y'all would help me out.
I just did.
No, you cut out the concrete part and went straight to the middle.
Sure did.
Okay.
That's all.
I ran over one of those things in my car, and now
You know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get Mohammed Gobadi to come in here for a week.
who?
Mohammed Gobadi to come in here for a week.
What do you believe in?
I think he makes you appreciate me.
Oh, I had him on mine.
We do appreciate it.
No, you don't.
And he'll say, you know that girl on tattoos? I don't like her.
No, he would just call security on you.
For what?
Anything.
But I said it's the medium.
Anything.
The medium. The
Any.
middle.
You don't know what you say because you on drugs. All right.
Every morning.
Now, I take drugs every morning. Now, I'm going to show you something. Here's a rule that you need to write down. When you're calculating the median.
You just line them all up and mark
No, that's not it.
It's so weird. Yeah, that's layman's terms. That's what me and you do. Rocket science.
Oh, and if
over here,
there's-
he's got some other way.
If there's 2 in the middle, you add those 2 up and divide by how many. there
Y'all
are.
want to teach class? Can I be in charge for a while?
Yeah.
All right. If n is equal to
What's a medium?
an odd number, you just count to the middle. And that's your median. So when you have 9, which is odd, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th number is your median. So when n is odd, it's real easy. But when n is even,
That's very confusing because that's not the middle. And then you have a 4 and a 5. 4 numbers.
how many are there? There's 9.
There's 9.
So you count down to 4, and the next number is the middle.
But the middle of 10 is 5.
Well, that's odd. That's not odd. When n is even,
Just say mark off one on
you have to find the middle 2, the average of the middle 2. So middle 2, middle 1, plus middle 2, divided by 2. Okay? So you find your 2 middle numbers, add them together, and divide by 2. So in that case, let's just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So n is equal to 9. You got 9 numbers. The only thing you do is you count down. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's your, because how many do you have on the top? And how many you got on the bottom? So that's the middle. And everything is based on the center of statistics. Everything. Everything is based on the middle, the range, the mid-range, the middle, the midpoint, or the median, or the average. Alright? So if you have those same numbers, and you add one more to it, then you have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and these two right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is your middle right here. This is your median, but you have to calculate it. And that is the first one plus the second one, and it doesn't matter which order because it's what? Adding, so it doesn't matter. And then you divide it by 2. And that will give you the number that's right here. And that is your median. Because how many you have up top? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what you're doing is you're calculating a new number that represents the middle of the group. And you've got 5 up and 5 down. Okay? So that's a little note about the median. Mode. Mode is real easy because it represents the what? The one that shows up the most. It's supposed to be mode here.
You wrote it again.
Most equals most.
Oh, when I make a mistake, you can talk up, all right? But when I ask you a question, it's
D. Oh, there we go.
What was the median? 13. You're still in the middle.
most means mode. All right, which one shows up the most in this one? 13. So in this one, the answer is 13. But you can have more than one mode. Of all the things that we have to calculate, this is probably the easiest, but it's the most worthless. We don't even use it. But you need to know what it is for other applications. So if you have one mode, that's fine. You just list it. One mode is called, it's just called one mode, monomode, whatever, but nobody ever uses that word. 2 modes called bimodal. And then 3 modes is tri. And then of course after is polymodal. Now the only thing I need to tell you about mode is one, it's the only one that is observed. It's observed, you do not calculate it. And it's not really, it's not important. And do not use 0 when you don't have a mode. Because you got some uptight SA instructors that will mark it wrong. Even though they know you mean there's no mode, they'll say, oh, 0 is not even in the list. Say no mode, there ain't one, there nairn, whatever. Write it in words, okay? Because I don't want you to get a problem wrong because it's going to mess it up. Okay? I'm not really gonna spend a lot of time on that because just so long as you can find it, I'm happy with it. Range. Real simple, highest minus the lowest. It's nice to know it, but it's not detrimental to you back in the flat. I mean, you just have the highest minus the lowest. You don't have any application as far as other things. It's just a range. Mid-range. This is just like the midpoint. Now this is important. This is just as important as the median, the mean and the standard deviation. The mid-range is basically the midpoint. Or it is the middle pertaining to the range, not the other numbers. In other words, if you want to make a number line out of your data, you're going to use the range and you're going to use the mid-range. You're not going to use all the numbers added up, and you're not going to use the median because that takes into account all the numbers. But if you're setting up like as far as a start and a finish line or a number line, then you want to use the range and the mid-range. Let me give you an example. What's our highest number on this set of data?
25.
So it'd be 25 minus, what's the, and that's equal to, no one has to look at it. Now 16 doesn't help us, okay? But I'm going to set up a number line, and this is helpful when we do our box plots. The bottom is 9, and the top is what? 25. So that's how you use your highest and your lowest. The mid-range, 25 plus 9 is what?
31.
Divided by 2 is, so the middle is 17, and you set up your number line doing this. So what's 17 plus 9? What's so funny? What did she say?
I thought it was 16.
17 plus 9 is
I don't know.
26, right?
Yeah.
26, 13. 17 plus 25, dang old 33, 43. Half 43 is 20, I don't know. 22.5.
21.5. Okay.
22. And so you can keep on going, and eventually you'll have little bitty, this is called interpolation. Not interpretation, interpolation. Interpolation is used in engineering. It's also used in interpolation.
Said the mid-range was 17.
Yeah, and then you just take the mid-range of the mid-range of the mid-range and you keep finding the middle. That's what interpolation is. You keep finding the middle of the middle of the middle of the middle. And eventually you'll have hash marks. It's about how can you keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. In other words, 20, let's do an easy one. What's 9 plus 13? 21, right? 22, half 22 is what? 13 plus 17, they know 30, half 13 is. And you'll eventually get it down to where you can start seeing the pattern if you do it. And this helps with big numbers, it helps with decimals, fractions, whatever. It's just called interpolation. Find the middle of the middle of the middle of the middle. 17 plus 22 is 39, isn't it? And half of 39 is 18.5 or something like that, 19. And 22 plus 20 is 47. Half of 47 is 23.5, which is 24 or something. 23. Anyway, and when we do the box plot, this is the first thing that you do when you do the box plot. You make a number line, and then we put the block somewhere up here. Line up with this and this. Okay?
Okay, so just to make sure that I got this right, to get the mid-range, you're gonna subtract the highest number.
Now this is the range. We didn't even use this. This is just, I'm just showing you how to get the range. Okay, right here.
Okay, so to,
Okay.
To get,
This represents finding the mid-range. Okay, I put my lowest number here because we read left to what?
right,
Okay, and highest number there.
okay.
And then you find the mid-range, which is going to be, this was our first mid-range, wasn't it, 17? All right, that's our first mid-range.
So you add those two together and then divide by two, and
Mhm.
that's mid-range. You don't have to do it again?
Yeah, you do it many times as you want to.
Okay.
Because you're making a graduated numbering system on this number line so you can put your box plot later on. Just keep doing it. Okay, look, let me show you something. So I think you want to keep those. All right, let me ask you a question. How many numbers you got there? 3. So you're going to use these two numbers to find this one,
Okay.
and you're going to use these two numbers to find this, and you just keep on going with that mentality.
Okay.
So 9 plus 17 is 23. Half of 23 is 12. I'm just going to say 12. I'm not really worried about trying to think. Okay. 25 plus 17, I said that was 43, 42, 21. Now you've got these two numbers by mid-range. These two numbers by
Yeah.
mid-range. Mid-range is mid-range is mid-range. It's called interpolation.
Okay.
Interpolation is used in engineering you know what that's called? Contour line. This can be the top of the hill or the bottom of the hill. Elevation is 428 feet above sea level. So this is 426, and this is 424, and this is 422. What is this? Is it a valley or is it a hilltop? Because this is higher than this one. And if you want to know the linear footage between here and here, you can actually calculate it by interpolation. That's where interpolation is used in engineering. This is used with contour maps. Okay? Half. In other words, you find the middle. And you only have to do it 5 or 6 times when we're doing box plot. And the reason you can't use the standard number line is you don't know what your low and high number is. If your low number, if you use the standard number line, it goes from 0 to 10 on the right and 0 to 10 on the left, negative, then what if it starts at 100? 100 to 300. You can't, you gotta just do it. It's kind of like, as you look at the problem, you gotta make the range, I mean the number line. But not right now. This is for box plot. And when you see something that says plot, then we're going to do box plot. Later, I don't know, maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday, I don't know, but we're going to do it. Not right now in this minute. All right, so range, mid-range, and now the two that some people have never seen. Variance and standard deviation. I'm going to tell you, I've already told you that this one's most important. Now, the formula for this looks very intimidating, but it's not really. It is the summation of x minus x bar, quantity squared, over n minus 1. don't show you. They should have both of them written down. I don't even know if standard deviation is in 13.4, it may be in 13.5. Let's see what it is. Measures central, that's the middle. There's summation, that's at bar. Mode, we've already talked about that. Mid-range.
Do you need a lot of lists?
It's not GP, what is the stuff that goes on it. They've already ruled that out. Telling y'all, they've ruled out everything.
Did you go on the one? Did you go on
What'd you say?
the Did you go on the one?
Yeah. Oh yeah, just blame it. Yeah, just you get all kind of money. Yeah, that's what I need to do. That way I don't have to work. Yeah, I'll just say that. I got it in Saudi. It could be. There's some funky stuff over there, but the U.S. is terrible. So. Okay, I can't find it. I don't know where it is. But anyway, it's the summation of x minus x bar. Now, the difference between the two is, let me see if I can do this. Standard deviation. Just type it in. What? Ugh. I think, is this the rule right here? I'm looking to see if it's going to give us the rule. There it is. There we go. That's it. Now, it looks all, and that's the standard deviation. The difference between the two, and that's what I was getting at when I went to show you this. This is on page 811. Is the difference between these two what's the difference between them?
One's the square root of the
Exactly. The square root of the variance is equal to the what? Standard deviation. So really, these two are the same what? Formula. You just take the square root of this guy and you got this guy. So you need to make that distinction because I really don't care about the variance. If I ask you a question about the variance, it's because they've already written it. But all I care about you learning is the mean and the standard deviation. Because that's important, especially if you go into 120 in the future. So take your handy dandy highlighter and highlight this right here in your notes because that's the only difference between the two. If you want to find the variance and you're given the standard deviation, you just square it. If you want to take, if you're given the variance and you want a standard deviation, you take the square root of it. It's opposite. So if I'm given the standard deviation and I want this guy, I just square it. So I take the standard deviation and I square it, and that will give me the variance. If I'm going this way, just take the square root of the variance, and it'll give you the standard deviation. Now, doing this is a whole lot more detailed than you think. All right? Because you have to do all of this stuff out to the side, and then you plug it in, and then you do the math. So we've got this is x minus, x minus x bar. What did I tell you x was? It's each one of those little numbers, right? 9, 9, 13, 13, 13. Each one of them is x. And what's x bar? Mean. So what have I got to do with each one of those x's? Subtract the mean from it. So that's another reason I use the Excel spreadsheet, is because it's a whole lot less, it's more organized than writing all over the board. See, I told you, it's intimidating. She's intimidated. She's leaving. So watch. This is x minus x bar. And I'm going to take the 9 and I'm going to subtract the average, which is 13. Now, when I do that, if you're an Excel user, if you're going to use the Excel spreadsheet, when you do that, you got to hit F4. What does F4 do? F4 locks it. Let me show you why you got to do it. Because I just hit enter and I copy it down. I should get -4 in the next one, right?
No.
It did. I did.
No, that's
Oh, we didn't fill out the rest of this stuff. That's why. What was our median? 13? Mode is 13. Range was what? I'm sorry, what'd you say?
16.
There you go, enunciate. All right, mid-range. Thank you, I heard that, barely. 17. I already just heard parts of that. Okay, is that all correct? All right, so watch what happens if I copy this down. I should get -4, -4, -3, blah, blah, blah. Okay, everything's working. I thought I didn't lock it. Okay, yeah, I did lock it. There it is. Oh, hold on, I'm not supposed to lock it. I'm going to show you what happens when you don't lock it. Okay, it locked it anyway. All right, forget it. What happens sometimes if you don't lock it, it'll say 9 minus 13, and then when you copy it down here to the second one, it's going to say, oh, that's why. 9 minus 13, well, it's the same. But is the median always going to be the same as the mean? No, it's going to grab each one of these. So that's why you have to lock it. So you go M3, and then you lock it, use F4. And F4 will tell the computer to use 13 every single time and not these numbers right here. So that's why you have to use it. Some of them might change. Yep. All right, so that's x minus x bar. Now what do we got to do with x minus x bar? Let's look at it.
square it.
Square it. So what am I going to do with each one of those numbers?
Square it.
Y'all are smart. Parentheses, x minus x bar, quantity squared. And you can pretty much do that in your head, but if you can't, then we'll help you out. I'm trying to fix this. I'm sorry, it's too big. Okay, so x minus x bar, and what that does, anybody tell me what that does? What does that do to everything? Makes it what? Positive, Hubert? Yeah, that's right. And there's your x minus x bar. Now, what are we going to do with x minus x bar?
Add them together.
Add them together. Good job. Or yawn real loud. 190. Now that right there is your numerator for your formula. So square root of, what was it, 190? Over n minus 1. Well, what was n? How many numbers we got? What's 9 minus 1?
8.
So let's take our, huh?
Nothing.
Don't disturb me while I'm teaching.
Got it. Sorry.
Okay. All right, so now here's my variance over here. And I'm going to say is equal to this guy divided by parentheses this guy minus 1. I got 23.75. What'd y'all get? Huh? Did y'all get that? Shelley, what'd you get?
What?
What'd you get?
On what?
Okay. All right. So the square root of 23.75. Well, the square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 25 is 5. So 16 to 25 is 9. Half of 9 is 4.5. So it's going to be close to, I'd say around 4.7. Somewhere in there. So what's the square root of 23.75? Takes a while to use a
So
calculator.
the
doesn't it?
variance is 23.75.
Priority 1 message coming in on secured channel.
She takes drugs every morning. Good gracious alive. I'm sorry, 4.8.
Standard deviation.
Yeah, that's S. I'm sorry, I don't know why I don't blow this up for everybody that sits on the back row that can't see. What? I mean, I know there's no seats up at the front 2 rows, but you know.
It's no fun at the front.
You come back here.
Teach back.
I'm not in that circle.
You can be in the line. This is our line. Right angle.
Okay, now I want you to draw the normal distribution.
I don't know what that is.
Add standard deviation to the right, add standard deviation to the left, and you subtract on the left and add to the right. Anybody get that?
What?
All right.
I'm not trying to
I'll wait.
From here on out,
You
whenever
draw it,
you
and I'll
find
talk it.
the mean and the standard deviation, whenever you find it, I want you to draw the normal distribution. And the reason I want you to do that is because it shows you what the standard deviation and the mean is. Who keeps yawning?
Me, I'm
You
sorry.
need to go to sleep.
Somebody get really loud on Sunday's class right now.
There it is. Okay? There's the mean. Mean's in the middle. And what is our mean?
13.
So 2 lines on the left, 2 lines on the right. Now, if we go to the right, do we add or subtract?
Add.
Okay, so 13, I'm going to put this to 5. I'm going to make this 5. So I don't have to do the decimals. So 5 plus 13 is 18. And 18 plus 5 is, I have no idea, 23.
Okay. And this, I think I got it. So what you're doing is you're adding
The 2 important things.
the
Mean
standard
and the middle. And
deviation
you're adding the standard deviation.
to that to get the next number. Okay.
Now what do we do when we go to the left?
Subtract.
Subtract. So 13 minus 5 is 8. And 8 minus 5 is?
13.
Now we're going to talk about what's called the empirical rule. I don't know if it's in the book. Look for it if you got a book. I don't know how to spell empirical, but I thought I want to put an H in there, but we may not have to. I don't know how to spell it, but empirical rule. So that's what it's called in probability and statistics. In statistics, that's what it's called. But I don't know, these books, they change the name of it because they try to dummy it down for students and they end up calling it all kinds of stuff. Let me see if I can find it. I do wish my stomach would quit hurting. I'm just going to look it up. Yeah, they call it something else, or I spelled it wrong. I thought there was an H there. Okay, I'm just gonna have to find it. Has anybody got a book with them? Glad I have such a prepared class.
I got a book.
What do you need to look up?
Huh?
What are we looking for?
What do you want us to look for?
I'm looking for a normal distribution curve, and it's got percentages on each side, and it's shaded in. It's in there somewhere because I saw it a while ago. I ain't asking you because you wouldn't find it for nothing.
What am I supposed to be looking for? Empirical rule?
Yeah, or a shaded normal distribution curve like I've got right here, and it usually has percentages on each side. And I don't know why they're not calling it the empirical rule, but they're not. Let me just go Google it because I ain't going to try to find anything in these daggum books.
You said normal distribution?
Yeah, the curve. What page is that on? Turn it to 818 because that looks like it. Let me see.
I don't have that page.
I didn't bring it page either.
That's perfect.
I don't have that page.
819. 819 is where it is.
And this, did I not?
There it is. I spelled it. How did I spell it? Okay. It's supposed to be I. Told you. What if I told you I couldn't spell it? The empirical rule. The empirical rule says that normality falls within 2 standard deviations. All right. So if whatever happens, if you have n is equal to 100, then 95% of the 100 is going to fall within 2 standard deviations. Outside of 2 standard deviations is called unusual. They old 300-pound 6th graders, 6-foot 2nd graders. Okay? People that score 2100 on that 1800 SAT. Okay? Those people are unusual. They're out of the norm. Not unusual.
So would you say that rule said again?
Empirical. Okay?
Yeah, I know that part. That it falls through.
And it has percentages on each side. That's what I'm fixing to get to. You ain't letting me get there. Okay? Now, in the center is kind of like 0 on a number line. On each side, you've got a 50% on this side, 50% on this side. Now, on page 818, it gives you those percentages, doesn't it? 34 and 34. This is 34. This is 34%. Make sure you put percent. I always forget this one. This one's 2.5%. This one's 2.5%. Well, he's telling me what that one is, but I always forget it. This one, I think, is 13.5. What does it say? Somebody added up. I think it's 13.5. You should add them up, and they should equal what? So add them up right quick. Make sure I do. I always want to call this one 11.5. 13.5. That should equal 100. 2.5, 13.5 is what? 16? 16 and 34, yeah, that's right. Now, if 95% is normal, that means 5% is unusual. That 5% is represented. This is normal, so the complement of normal is not normal or unusual, and that's 5%. 5% can be written as 0.05. That number right there is going to be used a lot with asking you if something's normal or not. If your number is greater than 5 cents, then it's normal. If your number is less than 5 cents, it's not normal. Okay? So that gives you a little bit. Now, why did I show you the empirical rule? I showed you the empirical rule so that you can see how important the mean and the what? Standard deviation is. If you don't know the mean and the standard deviation, you can't make this curve. And if you can't make this curve, you can't figure out where 50% of the scores go. 50% of the scores are at 13, or whatever those things were, ages or whatever. 50% are at 13. The other 50% are above 13. What about 75%? Well, about 75% is going to fall right in here, but because you're reading from the left. But how about 16%? First 16% is below what? 8. And you can find that information out just by looking at it after you put the mean and the standard deviation. That's why it's so important to know those two numbers and how to get them. Okay? All right, I want y'all to do this one. What? You need to share. All right, do this one. I'll blow it up for you. After this one, we'll call it a day. Just find everything. I'm not worried about the mode. I'm not. I mean, y'all can find the mode, but I don't think there is one. Of course, you got to put them in order.
secure channel.
N is equal to 10. $25,000. $31,000. $29,000. $30,000. $82,000. $28,000. $27,000. And 30,000. Put them in order. Data. Sort. And they're sorted. Of course, that's X. So that's X. Now we need to go find our mean, median, mode, range, mid-range, variance, and standard deviation. Can't do anything yet until we add them all up. We get our handy dandy summation key and we add them all up. And then our mean is equal to that number divided by what? 10. And that is your mean. Median, we got to find the middle two numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. These are your two middle numbers. I'll highlight them for you.
Can you make it a little bigger?
And move it up a little bit. Maybe about as big as I can get it. Okay. Alright, the median. It's right there. Well, that's the, we're going to find the, let me do this right quick so you know, I wanted to get it in your head is you're finding the middle of those two numbers is what you're finding. That red line right there represents the median. That's what you're finding. So, what is it? Well, it's going to be equal to, parentheses, this guy plus this guy, close parentheses, divided by 2. Why did I do parentheses in there? Yeah, so it would know to do there is a numerator and a denominator. If you don't put the parentheses, it's going to take the 31,000 divided by 2 and add 30,000 to it. And there is your median. Mode is 32,000. Now 32,000, I'm going to highlight this a different color just for your purposes. I highlighted, I keep hitting the wrong button. I'm not thinking. Okay. Mode is observed. It is not calculated, so that's why I highlighted it. range is equal to this guy minus this guy. Mid-range is equal to parentheses this guy plus this guy divided by 2. And variance, I'm going to go ahead and call the row. We'll finish that next time. Because my stomach is hurting and I don't feel like trying to rush and trying to get it. So we'll just do it next time. Let me get the roll before y'all leave. Get those tests done. When are they due? Just want to make sure. For the 6 dead grandmother people, y'all need to get them done. Oh, somebody mashed my button for me.